Mic check, mic check. Yo, I say, yo, welcome back to Creative Decisions, y'all. Special edition, Art to Art. I got my good friend, Paul, Chef Paul, to be exact. Thanks for joining, sir.
Cysion, always good to see you, man. Every time I see you, I always think of Boston coffee with extra sugar.
Word 'em up, man. You got the best coffee in the city down there, man.
Thank you.
Just to jump straight into it, man. I've been knowing Paul for over 10 years, man.
It's been a minute.
We intro. I remember you had the shindigs over on the fourth floor every third Friday, where we could come hang, chill, good people, good music, good coffee.
Yeah, we started that a long time ago. It felt good when we did it. We had some turntables in there in our studio. We had a pour over bar set up, and we used to give out coffee during the open studios nights at the Bridgeport Arts Center every third Friday. And that was an opportunity for us to showcase some of Chicago's better coffee roasters, and also give us a little bit of opportunity to practice our skills of making pour over coffees.
Word 'em up. So you started with the coffee and the kickback that you had then, but you always been into just tell the people how you rolled into the chef, your journey into like going from the coffee shop to having your own cafe now.
I'm gonna have to kind of roll back the clock a little bit. I was in a kitchen since I can remember. One of the closest memories I have, still being young, at 13, rolling into South Water Market in Chicago, going to pick up produce, boxes of lettuce, things like that, 30 dozen eggs. Back then, a case of eggs was super cheap. Now it's like 4 times as much. But anyways, we evolved. I evolved. I stayed in the kitchen. I started working for mom and pop shops, Taylor Street, Madison Street, and then I went to culinary school right after high school. I tried a bunch of different stuff after high school. I did ITT. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But the minute I rolled into culinary school, I felt I could be myself. And, I just, I felt at ease, and I felt like I could do, what I like to do, and that's create.
Word. So it was like just the environment of being able to learn is something that you already knew. You said you felt like yourself.
Yeah. Feeling myself was the ability to create, as I mentioned prior. And, that creativity, that means freedom.
Word.
Freedom to, say what's on the menu, freedom to, purchase what you want to purchase, freedom to do those things that, make you feel, at ease.
Word. Creativity. So that's like the freedom of it. I like that. I feel the same way about creativity, man. Like, just, how we met, I was doing beats and doing music, and then I learned more about you. You like, man, this dude got the coffee and the food, but you was also creating an environment. At first this was like straight up Cysion's laboratory. I would be the only one in here, but now it's more community driven. So I will always look forward going to y'all place because y'all had that environment. You know what I mean? A lot of people coming together. So has that become a part of like what you bring into your career?
That you mentioned that, and that's actually something I recently thought about. When we had that space up on the 4th floor, one of my goals was to make sure that people felt they could be themselves. People weren't, judged by no means. And they were able to come here and just kind of open up. And, moving into the coffee shop when we opened in 2017, we became, okay with incremental progress. And that kind of, spitballed into something a little bit bigger over time. And, the pandemic hit. So that kind of put a damper on a lot of things, not only, businesses, but ideas, and the creative spirit that was there, always was there. It just
Mm-hmm.
felt like it had accumulated a lot of dust. And
Mm.
at the beginning of January of this year in January, that's what I started doing, was dusting off the shelves, and moving forward with a bigger vision, a bigger plan for that big word that you mentioned was the community. And
Right.
when we first opened the coffee shop, the community in this building wasn't that large.
Mm-hmm.
And today, that community, I would have to say, is probably at the very minimum 3 times larger.
Right, right, right. And that's real enjoyable too, man. Like got the open mic. You got every morning going down there. You can go down there and work. You know what I mean? You always come with the welcoming and your staff, you know what I mean? A couple laughs, a couple deep conversations, whatever you want to get into, but it's smooth, you know what I mean? So I would say community is part of your recipe, huh?
Absolutely. I think community is one of those things that has to be part of the recipe.
Hmm.
We have to be able to connect on one platform,
Right,
which is what I
right.
want the coffee shop, to be. And I feel like it is acting as that platform. And you mentioned the open
Definitely.
mics, and the open mics, came to be because you know, I still shared that passion to bring people together
Hmm.
and give them a platform to feel safe, included. And then I wanted to expand on the diversity of the people involved in the coffee shop,
Hmm.
customers, vendors, you name it. Like every time I think of adding someone to the mix, whether it be a vendor or what have you, I always think of that word diversity.
Right.
And keeping that mix, in keeping that mix has brought some color to our coffee shop. And
Hmm.
that's important. And when I'm sitting in there during an open mic, waiting for a sandwich or what have you, like I see that, I look around and I'm just like, I was like, man, this is exactly what the vision was.
Word, word. So it's like damn near a dream come true. Like you see your vision come to fruition. So when you said you rolled back the clock as far as your journey, um, who taught you? Like, did you learn, or how did you learn how to cook?
Good question. I my family has owned restaurants. Not immediate family,
Hmm.
but my extended family has owned restaurants since the '70s. We still grinding in taquerias in Chicago and beyond.
Hmm.
So I spent some time, like I said earlier, buying the produce and learning, to learning how to pick a vendor and doing that stuff. And and picking a vendor was important because you were dealing with people,
Hmm.
and people at the end of the day want to you know provide their service or product to you, because they understand the grind, and
Mm.
they want to see their product, in on your menu. They want to see their product, people talking about their product. That's how they become popular.
Right, right. So that part of the game is deeply entrenched in the transactions between vendors and cooks.
Absolutely. And I feel like coming into cooking was sort of natural. I remember being at the restaurant with my cousin. We had a separate table, and the cooks would cook us breakfast in the morning, and they'd ask us how we wanted this done and that done. And
Hmm.
we it was just cool to feel special. And
Mm.
when everybody comes into the cafe, I want to extend that same level of specialness to them.
Word.
And I think that's one of the reasons that people enjoy the sandwich. Like, I mean, anyone can. I don't want to say anyone, but bread is bread, chicken is chicken, cheese is cheese. But the way that you put it together, sometimes people put it together a little bit of extra care, a little bit of extra love, that goes a long way. You could taste it.
Right. You know what that remind me of?
What's that?
The a la sriracha. Man,
Cysion walks in the cafe. He's like, I'll take a bagel a la sriracha.
Yeah, man. Cause you know the bagels, man, slamming bagels. We y'all go to base, check out the bagels. All the food is good. Paul on the case, you know what I'm saying? Staff. Shout out to James. Shout out to Felix. You know, the whole staff is cool. But I always would go get bagels. And then I was like, Paul, you know, I want a little spin on it. You know what I mean? A little sauce, a little spicy, just because I was, you know, just wanted to try something. He was like, yo, try this sriracha mayo. Man.
Without giving away any secrets.
Right,
you know,
right.
We put a lot of love and emphasis into making that sriracha mayo taste really good.
Hey, man.
And once we put it on Cysion's bagel, it was game over.
Game over. I call it a la sriracha. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to put that on the menu, man. Just call it a la sriracha.
I got it.
Watch people go for it, man. You know
okay,
what I mean?
okay.
Yeah, they gonna go for it. Let's do a creative test to see what people react to. You know what I'm saying?
I'm down, man. Let's try it.
That's what up. That's what up. So speaking of, like, you know, different flavors and, you know, coming up with different styles and your signature, is that something that you go into? Like, what's your creative process? Do you come up with recipes, or how that work?
You know, I learned very early on, especially in culinary school, that, you know, food needs to stand out. You know, I mean, being in school, you know, during practicals, you get the same recipe that you're supposed to follow, and you're supposed to cut it the same way, and everybody's supposed to be basically doing the same thing. And, you know, at the end of, you know, our practical, you know, we take our plates up to the chef, and, you know, they're judging our flavors, they're judging our sear, they're judging our cuts. And, you know, like, never have I heard the chef, you know, say that, you know, one meal was similar to the other. And that's always the spins that people would put on their foods. And I think that the things that you do to make your food unique or make your art unique is what makes you unique. And those are the things that I think will take you to the next level. I firmly believe that that'll take you to the next level.
That's what up right there. Just the uniqueness of, like, what you do. Making it your own, putting your style on it. I definitely feel that to a T, man. Because, like, that's one thing. Like, sometimes that can be condemned, though. You know what I mean? Like, when you know, you got people doing it this way, most people doing it this way, but you come with your own hookup, and people like, you know, that's kind of off. You know, at least I've had that happen. Not necessarily with music, but just in regular life, you know what I'm saying? Having a different point of view from the, you know, 9 times out of 10 is going to be this way. I might have that one. You know what I mean? So that's interesting that you say that, how that goes into creativity. Is that part of the challenge with cooking too?
Well, I think the result of being unique and adding that uniqueness to it, you know, makes it stand out. And if I simply focused on making it stand out, I could do that with any other thing, you know, and I think a lot of people focus on the end result without really focusing on, you know, everything that, you know, has to happen to get that result.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. And for me, you know, being able to make it unique out of the gate, you know, layer after layer, because for me, being a chef is building flavors and then compounding those flavors.
Okay.
And when you're adding, you know, XYZ layers on top of, you know, other layers, you know, you're making whatever you're cooking, you know, something, you know, extremely unique. And, you know, a lot of people have tasted, you know, certain things that I've done, and, you know, they've told me, hey, you know, I really like, you know, this note in the back end, and I really like this crunch, and, you know, that's by design. And, you know, I appreciate it. Sometimes I just do it because it just happens through me. And I sometimes I don't intend for it to happen. It just happens.
Right.
And, you know, lately, you know, I've had some really good support at the cafe with both Ron and James that you mentioned earlier. Ron also comes from a background.
Shout out Ron and James. What up, though?
both Ron and James come from a background of really good restaurants, restaurant families, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And that restaurant blood, is in their DNA. And having them as sort of people in the background,
Mm-hmm.
people helping me out, people push they push me, like they might not think that they are, but knowing that they're there, like does help me, and it reminds me what I'm there to do.
Mm.
And I think that that's one of the greatest things that's happened to me. One of the greatest things that's happened to me this year is to have that support from those guys.
Word. Shout out to Ron and James with the support, man, the staff. So, man, that's glad you mentioning that, because like as we build community, you've been building community with the, with your restaurants, and then just giving that picture of how you started. Your family made you feel special by serving you food. You sitting in with them, so you extended that as a grown man, and then you getting support from other peers, Ron and James, who cook and they push you. So that speak to the community, that speak to the team work.
For sure. And one challenge that I will say, kind of as a supportive, is having to teach that to someone else, and then making that person understand, that every piece of food that they prepare in my kitchen that's coming through my window is a representation of me. It's a representation of how I've trained them, and it's also a representation of how they receive the training. And when people come back and say, hey, that sandwich is really good. Hey, you weren't there on Thursday, but Felix made me this great sandwich, and man, that was really great. Thank you. Like that to me, reminds me that, okay, shit, I'm doing something right, and whatever I'm doing, I'm just going to keep doing it because I'm getting this feedback. And, people talk with their wallets, people talk with, their comments, and, people talk when you see them again, like they walk in every day. I see you almost every day. I see a lot of people in the building almost every day, like we're a family,
right?
And families, for the most part, want to stick together or see you through, whatever's going on. And, it works both ways. So, I mentioned Felix a second ago. Felix was for me, someone that was able to, have me show them, what it was that, I wanted to do in the cafe with food. And, me being able to, show them how we want a sandwich, or how we want to cook something, or how we want it to look, or what we're looking for, and them understanding that was important. Felix is also a really great artist, and Felix helps with some of the design stuff that we do, for events, etc.
Yeah. So you got a lot of creativity flowing through there, man, and that's a trip too, because for the people out there, y'all building a new kitchen right now, right?
Yeah.
So when y'all moved the kitchen out to the open, that was pretty interesting to me, like just to kind of see the process. It's like you involved with the process. Is that a vulnerability for the cooking staff, or is it how do y'all feel about that? Because we be like, yeah, y'all should keep it out there. What is it?
Anyone that has worked in the kitchen with me knows that I'll chase you around with a towel. One of the things that I learned in culinary school is to work clean as you work, clean as you go. And, there's not, for me, when I go dine out somewhere, there's nothing more, there's nothing more telling to me, how a chef or how a kitchen staff, takes care of their kitchen. And that to me tells me that they're taking care of their food. Yeah. They care about their products. They're rotating their products right. They're labeling their stuff. All of those things mean a lot to food, specifically in a restaurant. If you don't do those things, like you're not doing the push-ups.
Right.
And if you're not doing the push-ups, we all know what's up with that.
Right. Your product weak. It ain't gonna be nourishing. That's real. So you create recipes. You into the process. You know what I mean. A lot of your upbringing has brought the building of community and love that you put into your food. Have you ever noticed how this is one thing that? Okay, let me just backstory real quick.
Yeah.
So I learned how to cook basically in a relationship I was in, my ex, right? Before that, I had a real like, I guess, chauvinistic view of a man cooking. You know what I mean? Like, yo, my woman gonna do that. I don't need to learn how to cook. You know what I mean? My mom's cooked for me. Got 3 sisters, they would cook, so I kind of came up like that was a woman's thing. So long story a little bit longer, is in this relationship, and then, you know, things kind of got a little shaky, but I was learning how to cook to try to keep it going, because she was like, I always cook, and I didn't know that was a thing to her. She was like, I always cook, and it's like that. I'm like, dang, I thought you liked that. But she was like, I would be tired, so I would try to, you know, to cook some wings, and then I'm like, okay, I could put some creativity into this. That's what kind of, like, cooking ain't that bad. You know what I mean? So you talk about the love, and you talk about like different dishes. Have you ever noticed how certain foods affect people's moods?
Oh, absolutely. I could say that, you know, I could see that, you know, firsthand. You know, and specifically, you know, with a group of artists that comes in the morning, beginning on Wednesdays. You know, they come in and they want to eat. You know, they want a sandwich, they want coffee. You know, they you could see it giving them, you know, energy, giving them hope for the day, and, you know, probably giving them the, you know, the necessary nutrients to, you know, get it started. And I think back in grammar school, you know, we would get a breakfast in the morning, and, you know, my day didn't start until I had something in my stomach.
Word.
And, you know, once I had something in my stomach, you know, that meant, okay, time to go. And then as I grew older, you know, it became coffee. And I remember specifically working at Northern Trust Bank in the executive dining room kitchen. We had a big coffee urn, and, you know, everyone would gather around that in the morning, you know, to talk about what's going on, what kind of events we got, et cetera, what the workflow was going to look like for the day. And, you know, that was always a commonplace. And, you know, there were times where, you know, I'd get coffee before, because I was seeing some friends from high school at this coffee shop in the morning, and I'd run into them, and, you know, then I get to work, then I have more coffee. And then, you know, halfway, you know, between working there and I started working for Starbucks, and I just wanted to learn what Starbucks was doing. You know, why was Starbucks so popular?
Right.
And, you know, there's a thing they call the third place. And, you know, for them, that's where you go. You go to home, you go to work, and then you go there.
The third place.
The third place. And, you know, they've since elaborated on it. But, you know, that's what my life was. It was work, it was home, and it was coffee, cafes, restaurants. I found a lot of cool little food establishments, you know, during those times. I worked downtown for quite a while, and, you know, finding those little spots where you could pop in after a shift at 11 o'clock at night, or, you know, 12 in the morning, or what have you. You know, like, you're able to sit down and relax before you went home, because, you know, it's hard for me to wind down from adrenaline rush, you know, after a shift.
Right. So, man, you touched on this before too, in a conversation that we had. Like, when did you realize that you could do this for like a living? You know.
Good question, and I do remember the answer. I was in culinary school. I was on my way out. We had every class had to work in the restaurant that our school had. And if you were working in the restaurant, that meant that you were basically going to graduate soon. So I was working in the kitchen, and my chef instructor, you know, at the first couple of days, she kind of felt me out. And then, you know, she started putting me on different stations. And then, you know, she asked me where I wanted to go. And I told her I wanted to be on the hotline. So, you know, she's like, okay. And she's like, well, what do you want to make? And she gave me the freedom to, you know, do my own app, or do my own salad, or do my own app, or do my own
Appetizer.
entree or appetizer. And I remember one time our school had they had hired dishwashers, and most of the dishwashers were Latinos or Hispanics. And I had just made tamales with my grandmother maybe a week before, so that whole process was fresh in my mind, and it was just itching at my brain. And the instructor was like, "Well, what do you want to do today? Like, it's Thursday, we're expecting this many people, we have this many whatever, reservations." And I'm just like, the first thing I thought was tamales. And she looked at me, she's like, "Tamales? Like, how are you gonna make tamales?" And I'm like, just watch me.
Right.
And I started making tamales, and like the guys that were washing dishes were staring at me. I was like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" And I killed it. I made tamales. I didn't even have to clean up. She sent me home. She's like, "You can go home." Like,
wow.
Those tamales were the shit.
Yeah, straight up.
So that gave me a little bit of confidence. That enabled me to, sort of, kind of move on to the next level in this game. And I had some really good teachers out there. Even, people that didn't seem so friendly were great teachers. I remember a chef that I worked for that, basically, just focused on me. I would say 50% of the time, pushing me to do stuff. And, I had just graduated from culinary school, so I thought I was the shit. And I showed up in his kitchen with my fresh whites. And, he walked me through the kitchen. He showed me the line. He showed me this back kitchen. And then after he did all that song and dance, he pointed at all the wheels on the kitchen equipment in the back kitchen. And he asked me if they looked dirty. I said, yes, they look dirty. And he's told me to clean them. He says, we break at 1 for a family meal. And at 1 p.m. we'll come get you. So this was like 7:30 in the morning. So this 300, 400, 500, I don't even remember how big it was, square feet kitchen with all kinds of equipment. I'm there scrubbing the wheel. At 1 p.m. when we broke for family meal, my fresh, clean, white chef jacket was filthy. Man. And I never got the grease stains out of it.
Wow, right. So just that humbling experience, because you came out of college like popping your collar, popping your apron. Like,
yeah, I was fresh. I was fresh meat. And,
right.
He probably saw that and was like, "Let me teach this kid a lesson."
Right.
Which I appreciate. I appreciate it a lot. If you're listening, Grant, you the man.
That's a big part of it. So like, damn. No, that's I like that, because in every journey, especially creative, coming up in your career, is that one point where you be like, "Yo, I could do this." You know what I mean? And then when you had that humble experience, it's like, I could get through this. Because people might, like, if you weren't cut for it, that might have threw you way off. You know what I mean? You might let your ego just take you sideline.
Absolutely. And that happens with a lot of chefs, at least in my experience that I've seen. People, especially, I graduated culinary school in 2001. And I started working for Marshall Fields on the 7th floor. They have a big, giant kitchen, and I worked for the Walnut Room and the Frango Cafe. And after about a year working there, they sent me back to my school that I had graduated from to recruit kids. And, I was just kind of chatting with these kids, and, they were saying that the instructors were stating to them that, they could get a executive chef position with, XYZ salaries a year. And and they had no experience. They never picked up a knife or never did anything prior to going to culinary school. And they're, on their way out, looking for an $80,000 a year job or a $90,000 a year job.
Right.
And that was kind of rough to hear. And, very few of those kids end up working in your kitchen. And, the ones out of maybe you hire 5, like 1 or 2 make it past the year. And, the ones that do make it, like they're thankful for, the experience, and they're ready to move on. They're young and they're energetic, and they want to, they want something else. And then you got to start over. And, you know, that in itself is a pretty humbling experience, because you spend a lot of time developing new chefs, and you spend a lot of, you know, resources making sure that they're happy to work for you or work with you, knowing that you're going to have to cut them loose one day because, you know, they need to grow. And that's part of life.
Wow. Okay. Man, that's something the average person wouldn't think about, because it's taking that feel for your staff. You feel that grow, they're gonna have to come out from under you. So that's a certain characteristic that you have to have as a lead chef.
Well, I look at it as like a dojo. You know, like people come in from all walks of life. Some make it, some don't. And you know that the ones that make it, you know, like they're not lifers. You know, like some of them are maybe 1 out of 10. You know, but in regards to the kitchen, you know, like once you reach a certain level in a kitchen, and you know, like there's all these elements that play a role in where you're gonna go and when you're gonna do it. Family, kids, life, health, you know, all that stuff plays a role. And you know, in last year, you know, I had 2 surgeries. And for me, that was a turning point, you know, for me to, you know, just kind of hit it harder. You know, I thought about it for a while, and, you know, scaling back wasn't in my cards.
Okay.
And, you know, I made the conscious decision to move forward and, you know, like keep the wheels moving. And, you know, I'm still doing it. So, you know, I can't say that there's, you know, a destination. You know, like it's a grind every day. But it's a good grind. It's a fun grind. And, you know, like I probably could figure out something else to do in my life. But, you know, this is what I'm doing now in this life.
Word. So you put a lot of appreciation and passion into it, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's necessary. You know, I've heard some of your jams that you put out, and, you know, like you're doing unique things, and, you know, like we probably share the same, you know, attribute. You know, like we wanna make sure it's got our stamp on it.
Word, definitely, man. That's important. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That made me think about like with music, you know, some of my favorite artists, like I would say Tupac is kind of like that. He spreaded the understanding of like where I'm from, where, you know, black dudes from, not just black dudes, you know, black to Latino dude. He spoke for a lot of people. He brought a lot of communities together. And lyrically, he was a poet. You know, also like Wu-Tang, they had a crew. So, you know what I mean? You know, Dog Pound, so many different hip hop.
Yeah.
But in the cooking game, is it like certain artists that you came up looking at, or is that something?
Good question. I have a smirk on my face because I won't name any names, but I've had an opportunity to work with some known people. And, you know, I remember this occasion where I was a prep cook for a woman who had a TV show, and we were basically prepping the food for, you know, we were prepping the food that this chef woman was going to be demonstrating at this event for, I think it might have been a book signing. And she had an assistant chef, and the assistant chef came into the satellite kitchen that we had and was telling us to, you know, make, you know, this tempura batter, you know, like 6 hours before we were supposed to use it. And we were like, we don't want to. We want to make it a la minute, which means we want to make it when we're going to need it at the minute.
Okay.
And, you know, they didn't want us to. So, you know, we, you know, put our tail between our legs and, you know, made the tempura batter. And, you know, it kind of sucked to have to, once we had to fire food during service, it kind of sucked to have to try to, you know, figure that out.
Fire food.
Figure out like the troubleshooting, you know, the amount of effort we put into troubleshooting, we could have just done it a la minute. And, for me, that taught me a pretty good lesson. And, for some, chefs or some people that, want to, like, I guess, teach you a lesson, like it could be two-way. It's learning a lesson is a two-way street. It could be a lesson that could be valuable, or it could be a lesson that, like you'll talk about the rest of your life.
Right. So you could take it, you could appreciate it either way. It's like trial by fire or trial by encouragement. You could take it and move forward with it in a positive way.
And I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that sounds like you kind of looked up to the people who helped you along during your journey.
I did. I definitely did. I did look up to those people. And then, some of the bigger names, like I mentioned, specifically one person, like you would think that they would have the same level of, like wanting to make it right that you do as a young chef. And, like that wasn't the case. So that kind of just, made me, it didn't set me back, but it gave me a different outlook on, what that type of, service looks like.
Okay.
And, maybe the guests didn't know the difference, or probably didn't care. But, I cared.
Yeah.
And the 6 guys or 6 people that were working with me that night cared as well.
Word.
And, like, that's just one of those things that you just kind of, put in your back pocket.
Yeah, it's a different pedigree. It's only a chosen few.
Right. And I've worked with some really good chefs that I still see from time to time. Like I did private events and high volume catering for 11 years. And, I got to meet a lot of really cool people that I still keep in touch with and I still collaborate with, in cultural type events as well.
Oh, word. Okay.
So that last event with you met Dulce, right?
Dulce?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think y'all did like a collaboration picnic.
We did a Chicano art show.
Yeah, okay.
So we had some really cool cars pull up, car club.
Oh, yeah. The other week.
Yeah. And I actually know Dulce through her mom.
Okay.
I worked with her mom in the kitchen. And
okay.
I met Dulce, through her mom, and Dulce worked front of house, and I was back of house with her mom. So like we made a connection, and it was one of those connections where like you like almost like a kindred soul, like almost like we kind of knew each other in another life. At least that's how I see it.
Word.
And when we collaborate on events, like she understands my flow, and she's able to just kind of gauge what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and when. It's very it's kind of like a like it just happens naturally.
Right. Good chemistry right there.
And,
good chemistry.
That's when you're in a kitchen and you see that happening, when you're in a restaurant situation and you see that happening, like that's a good thing. That means that whatever's coming out of the kitchen, or the service style or the service quality, like you're gonna get it, you're gonna feel it, you're gonna understand it. And being able to provide that service, specifically that feeling to someone, like is priceless. I've been to places where, you're spending lots of money on a really crappy experience.
Right. We've been
and
there.
subpar food. And, the reason that you're doing that is because, the glasses are fancy and the plates are fancy and the napkins are fancy.
Right.
And the real estate is fancy, but the kitchen ain't fancy. The service ain't fancy. And I feel when you see a chef orchestrating, a kitchen, and you see stuff, coming out of there, and it's coming to the table and it looks great and it tastes great, and you're just vibing with it, and the whole entire room is vibing with it. Like that's nirvana.
Word them up.
That's nirvana.
Yeah. Orchestrating. Art to art right there. That's sensational. So you could kind of walk into a restaurant and kind of feel that. Is that?
I want to say yes. The first impressions I get from restaurants sometimes is like the smell. You walk in and, you know, like I think a lot of chefs are probably blessed with a great nose. And, you know, there's places I walk in, I'm just like, oh man, I don't want to eat here.
Right.
And I take that to heart. And, you know, I get to the cafe every morning early and I turn the fans on and, you know, sometimes I light a candle or, you know, like I'll toast some garlic, you know, like I want to make people think when they walk in.
Right.
You know, what is this guy cooking?
Yeah.
You know, I there's a guy that was doing work on the second floor. He came down. He's like, you cook something every Wednesday. He's like, what is it that you cook every Wednesday? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm only up there on Wednesdays and I want to know what it is. I'm like, oh yeah, I make chili. He's like, chili. He's like, what kind of chili? I'm like, it's black bean, vegan chili.
Man, the black
He's
bean
like,
chili.
where can I get
grab
some?
that. True facts.
Yeah. He's like, where can I get some? I'm like, get it on Wednesday.
Well, Wednesday, bring your ass downstairs to get some.
So, you know, he
that's real.
I text him on Wednesdays, yo, man, I got the chili. It'll be ready at this time. And he's there.
Man. Yeah.
So, you know, it's the experience starts, you know, like, I mean, you know, he's smelling things that I'm cooking at 8, 9 in the morning.
Right.
He's coming down at noon asking for them.
Yeah.
You know, like that. That starts when I walk in the door.
Right. It's like you remember Fred Flintstone? Yeah. He smelled the good food. He used to just gravitate, start floating like man. So the smells, that's part of the environment. You know, it's sensational. Mm-hmm. You know, you got the smells, you got a good vibe. I know I could chop it up with you on any given topic, whether we about to go play catch. You know, we could talk about, you know, different things that's going on in the city. You know, so it's crazy how what you open up to my eyes, and I'm sure the audience can see this, is like it starts with the cooking in the pot, right? But also the whole environment is like you cooking that too. Mm-hmm. In a way, each element. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a recipe for everything. You know, there's a recipe for food, recipe for service, recipe for, you know, waiting tables. There's a recipe for cleaning windows. You know, like it's a dance, right?
Word.
And, you know, some people are good at dancing, and you know, those are the people you want on your team.
Right. That's a beautiful way to look at that. It made me think about, like, you know how Cheers was on that show. Mm-hmm. Everybody know your name.
Sure.
Because I love going and being able to go down to base, and it's just like, yo, you know, I'll be like, what up, though, Sir Paul? What up, though? You already know the regular, you know what I'm saying? And then sometimes I sit down with the laptop, like, man, I need to concentrate, boom, 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 like that. And there need to be more places like that for different, you know, communities too. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying all to say this is like learning about food and how it affects our community and togetherness and positivity. One thing I learned about when I moved out to Chicago is food deserts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say that. I participated in a program where we went into areas of Chicago that were basically food deserts. And I was this school was I forget what it was called, but it was down the street from is it Minister Farrakhan?
In the Hyde Park area.
Hyde Park area, yeah, just west of there.
Okay, so in describing a food desert, like that's an area where it's really describe what a food desert is to you, like.
So, man, food desert. I mean, like I'll just pinpoint it. You know, like we'll just say, you know, like 64th and, you know, Point. You know, like there's nothing going on there. There's no stores. There's
no grocery stores.
You get your groceries from the gas station. You know,
right.
and that's bad. You don't want to get groceries from the gas station because you ain't gonna buy anything good at the gas station.
Right.
And you know, food deserts. You know, whether I'm sure there's some sort of, you know, political rant I could go on in regards to food deserts, but you know, that's not only a food desert. You know, the resources were taken out of that community, you know, whether by choice or, you know, for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And, you know, these communities, you know, they falter. They don't have, you know, good food. They don't have good groceries. They don't have good doctors. They don't have good anything.
Right.
And, you know, like we can all kind of guess what happens when these resources are taken out of communities. Mm-hmm. And, I think, the plans for the future should be, reducing that, that whole notion that, some communities don't, have, you know, good sustaining,
Nourishment, right?
nourishment nearby. And,
Yeah.
I mentioned the school earlier because I was involved with a program that basically was introducing kids in these communities to, nutritious food.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were working with an organization that, was showing them how to garden, urban gardening.
Okay. Okay.
We taught them how to make smoothies, how to scramble eggs, do simple things. And, I was making, scrambled eggs, and I was, giving them each a sample. And like some kids had never tasted scrambled eggs.
Mm.
We have to do better. And, to me, that motivated me because when you, for food, when you cook something and, you're giving it your all, you're layering your flavors, and you're making you're making the food happy. And then you're giving it to somebody, they taste it, and that elevates their program in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to taste something like that again. And the only way they're going to taste something like that again is either they come looking for you
Mm-hmm.
and you cook for them, or you elevate their like their mind and their thinking, and where they're going to go looking for that food at. They're going to search a grocery store. They're going to search for a grocery store. They're going to search for a healthy eating establishment. They're going to search for, they're going to search for places where they're going to find those flavors.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to spark that in someone young, is important. And I'm sure that works for anything, for a lot of other things.
No, that's dope. You can inspire people for quality nourishment through your cooking.
Right. And it was just an introduction. I mean, it's very, very, very low key introduction stuff. We made smoothies with them. Like, some kids didn't know what a pineapple looked like, or some kids had never tasted a cherry, without, fruit juice to them was tang, or, like things like that. Like, where you're just like, damn, like we need to do better.
Right.
Like our schools need to do better. Like our system needs to improve.
Yeah.
So that we're nourishing the future.
Yeah.
Because we need it. We need future chefs. We need future tastemakers, people that are changing the tides for us. Because I mean, life goes on.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's true facts right there, man. You mentioned tastemakers, just that leadership of it, and just during your journey, and then as well, it makes me reflect about my journey too. Like, it's certain points where you can influence people to think in a certain way. You know what I mean? And then it helps you learn too. Like, wow, I didn't know this person didn't know that, and then they look at it where they may communicate how they look at it. Like, oh, for real? Yeah. So it's all about that communication. And then one thing, I'm a wordsmith too, man. Like, that's why I chose hip hop, because I was like, wow, you could do these words. So this one came to me like a voila, community. You communicate in unity. We put those two words together. I'm like, okay, that's community. You know what I mean? You communicate, you create that circle of sharing ideas, learn how to talk, even past differences. Some of the things you pain about, strain about, joy about, it can still go through the same energy. Just how you spoke about, some of your mentors weren't so nice and some others were, but you took it all toward where you are now. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that you're speaking to some of those things, because that's exactly, that art to art, going through that journey to understand what you can do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's special, man. So, like, in terms of like young people and people who maybe they don't want to be a chef, but maybe they want to be, a construction worker or own their own construction company or whatever. Like, what would be some things that you would just want to put forth? Because, Silk love the kids. We love the kids, and people get these opportunities to hear from people like you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. I don't hold myself in that regard. I want to say that I'm pretty like low key.
No, that's I mean, but that's one of the special parts about it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Taking effect.
I think kids, um, you know, I think they're involved with a lot of things right now, and they're easily distracted. And I'm not, throwing any shade, um, but I think focusing, um, should be something that we teach our children. Like it's okay that they have their, technology with them, um, but the same way we teach them that it's okay to have their technology, I feel like we should be teaching them on how to focus on things that might trigger something in them,
Mm-hmm.
like art was pretty important in my life as soon as I can remember. I remember having sketchbooks at a young age.
Mm.
The three things that I really loved in my life were art first, baseball, and food. And
Okay.
I played baseball as a youngster, and as soon as I hit high school, I started working, and baseball kind of took the back seat.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy being able to kind of share that memory with you, and because we toss the ball around,
Yeah.
is because it's therapy. And to relay back to focusing, um, you know, when I played baseball, I focused on baseball. I wasn't focused on anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of support from my father and from my mother, and that was absolutely important. But at the end of the day, I still had to keep the focus. And when it was school, it was also being able to focus and staying focused. Like that was important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just learning how to focus,
Mm-hmm.
and then using that lesson, in your life, to move forward. Like everything that we touch and everything that we use, like everything that in the built world, in the built environment, like somebody focused to design that, somebody focused to create that.
Right. Right.
And like that's the lesson that kids need to understand and need to learn. um and I think that was one of the first lessons I learned as an artist was, I had some pretty good art teachers growing up. And like I think that being able to learn that right away, kept me sort of on the straight and narrow. By no stretch of the imagination am I a straight and narrow person, but you know
But I
it's
try to be.
yeah, I focus on being it.
Right, right. That's real, man. That's real. I mean, yeah, that's one thing. I'm sure. One thing about you, Paul. I watch how you operate. You know what I mean? Like, we know each other, stuff
Sure.
like that, and handle different things. You come with a sternness, but it's always calm. It's friendly. So that's a good mix. It's friendly, but it ain't no pushover status. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I admire about you, how you run the show. You know what I mean? You try to consider all sides, but people know where you stand. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that's probably a big help. Or is that something you learn, or is that part of your personality? Is that like sports or coaches? Is that
I,
something?
I have to say it probably has a lot to do with the coaching in my life. Like the big brothers. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
I still run into little league coaches on the train sometimes, or the bus sometimes.
Mm.
And I rarely drive the bus, or ride the bus. So
Right.
when I see that, I'm just like, I make it a point to make sure that I say hello to them, or I say what's up to them. And I even coached kids baseball, 10, 11, 12-year-olds,
A word.
a few years back. And it's all about that connection, that community you make, and you're making the community and the connection happen, through the parents, through the kids. Like we I feel like, you know it's good to have a competitive edge,
Yeah. No doubt.
because sometimes your biggest the person you're battling, the largest or the bigger person you're battling is yourself.
Is
And
within.
your thoughts, and all the things that you think about yourself. And all the things that you believe, that what others, tell you about you, like those are the things that you got to live with, and those are the things you got to battle, and those are the things you got to come to terms with. And being able to do that is like, is doing the push-ups. Got to do the push-ups.
Yeah.
And back to the the kids, like I remember, in playing baseball and coaching baseball, and getting into the work environment, like I would look for, or look towards, or look up to, the people that were supposed to be managing me, because I needed to learn what I needed to do.
Exactly.
And there's still some of those people that were managing me back then, in the year 2001, 2002. Like I still talk to, like they're mentors to me, and like that was a very important part of my life. When I was questioning my sanity.
Right. The tools that they would hand to you, like whether it was catching, just skills, or you wasn't hustling, or didn't know when you need to hustle. One time, like when I first started playing football, like, so speaking of sports, just go to the, when I first started playing football, organized, it was me and my cousin Dave. Shout out Rodeo Dave, what up though? Yeah. Oh. Then so I go on the team, and I'm on one knee, like I just want to get in. And coach over there like, yo, running the plays. So he like, you right there. He saw I was paying attention, so I'll come in. And he's like, you line up right here. So it's like defensive end. So I was fast as a kid. So I shot in just trying to do something. And then he was like, man, you shot in there real fast. Like, wow, you got speed, but that's not the right move. You're supposed to stay at home, because if you shoot in it just that fast, they going around you. And so I'm like, wow, just that. I always remember that. Like sometimes if you got the speed, or you make quick decisions, you have to really analyze what's going on around you so you know how to play it. So coaches, that's a big part of my life too. You know what I mean? Like one thing about like the baseball side, we never got a chance. I never got a chance to play organized baseball. That's one thing. Like, man, but me and my boy Doug, shout out Doug. What up though, cuzzo? We started our own baseball league in my backyard, man. We would learn how to throw pitches, high fastball, and just, kind of just batting and hitting. So sports is a big part, and I know that's one of the bonds that we developed over time too. Just how therapeutic, and it's good to know you come from that same coaching cloth too. You know what I mean? That's what up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the things I look forward to as a youngster.
Right.
Was being able to hang out with my friends, and we play with fast pitch. We pick up about a dozen rubber balls at the corner grocery store, and then just go to there was this spot just not too far from here, where on every day past 4, there was nobody there, and on the weekends there was nobody there, so we painted a box on the wall, and we sat there for hours, pitching to each other and hitting the ball, and
right.
like jumping around the bases, and like that meant something to us. And like having that experience with other peers, and doing those kinds of activities, made part of our makeup.
Yeah. Yeah, it opens you up to different possibilities and opportunities. You could be, you know what I mean? You could be a chef. You could be a music producer. You could own a real estate company. It's some of the same things, management, creativity, looking at circumstances, the same creative energy that kind of bring it forth, man. So I'm glad we got a chance to chop it up on this part, dog, man, for real. Shoot, if you want to leave the people with something, where tell the people where they can find you, and things like that.
Right now, you can find me at Base Cafe. We are located inside of the Bridgeport Arts Center on the first floor of the Racine side of the building. If you want to walk up to our space, our entrance looks like it goes under the loading dock in the middle of the building. And I'm there every day, 7:30 to 3 p.m. With the exception of Sunday, I take a day to rest. and we're doing good coffee. We source our coffee from local roasters in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and then food. Just keeping up with shortages and supply chain disruptions. We're doing our best to maintain, the flavors that we sought out to deliver to you. And you mentioned the kitchen upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely are upgrading the kitchen right now. It's been a slow process again for supply chain disruptions and bureaucratic stuff.
Right.
But it's happening, and staying relevant and just doing our best every day. Is gonna get us to that point, and we're looking forward to some growth, and we want you to know that our food is going to change. However, we're going to keep some classics, but we're upgrading the equipment. We're going to be able to bring you those things that like you've been asking about,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important for me, and I know that's important for the patrons in this building, the Bridgeport Arts Center,
Yeah.
and then the people around us. Like the community around us. We've seen a lot of fresh faces in the cafe lately, that kind of like makes us think that whatever it is we're doing, like that we need to keep doing more of, because prior to the pandemic, like getting those people to come in, was like, well, how do we do it? And like it's happening now, so that's important for us, and how we see the growth to happen.
Yeah.
And people are they want to know what's going on, they want to know what's what we're doing, so that's important. If you guys need to know anything, come ask us.
Yeah.
Somebody there can help you through any question you might have.
Word them up, Paul. Hey, I just want to say, man, hey, you're doing a great job, bro. You know what I
Thank you,
mean?
Cysion.
Like for
It's
real,
always
like
good to chop it up with you, man.
straight up, man. Because could count on coming down there. Like I said, chopping it up, getting some good coffee, some good food, some good convo, good vibes. So anybody out there that don't know about Paul, now y'all know. And then Paul running the show up there, got a great staff. You know what I mean? And we even got the open mic, man. So that's adding another element of community, which is beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the open mic was something that I was glad when we did it. The open mics for us was an opportunity to bring people to the space, and allow them to hang out and kind of let their hair down.
Yeah.
And especially in this building, I feel like we need it.
Mm-hmm.
We need it from time to time, and I think doing it monthly is an excellent way to do it. And creating that space that people feel safe in, and people feel not judged in,
Right.
is super important in a community like an arts center, and in a community like Bridgeport. Like Bridgeport has some deep roots, in all nationalities, and we see a lot of those people come in our doors, and like they like what we're doing, and I know that there's a lot of options for people around here to get a cup of coffee, but again, like I'm always making sure that whatever it is that we're offering has a twist on it, and there's a unique feel to it, and like, and I hope you feel that when you walk in.
Yeah, that's real. Stay unique, keep community, keep it kind, keep it real, and cook good quality. You know what I'm saying? You heard it here first, Chef Paul, and it's even more than that. You know what I mean? So thanks for joining, man. I'm glad you came through.
All right, peace,
You know what I'm
Cysion.
saying?
All right,
Peace
sure,
to you,
dude.
bro.
Yeah.
And then we'll have some more follow-ups as we flow forward, bro.
Part 2.
Part 2. You know what I'm saying? Cooking it up. All right, cuzzo. Peace,
All right.
everybody. In a minute. Yeah. Art to art.